Hey folks, it's Steve here with another Dark Valley video. I was like pessimistic last video yesterday when I thought I wasn't going to be able to do a whole video, but I was, and so now I can do a second video this week today, or at least I'm going to try. Hopefully nothing interrupts me such that I can't finish this one. But today we're going to be looking at turn 27, which is a mud turn, and there are some Soviet Guard replacements that are going to happen. There's going to be some reinforcements that are going to happen. Axis is going to get the Manstein chit back, and we'll have to decide if we end up wanting to use that chit. And yeah, the Soviets are going to try to keep pushing the Axis out of Russia, but ideally destroying units. Now, since I had posted last night's video, Ted Racer must have been like just happened to be sitting at his computer when I posted it, and he watched it. He must have watched it and provided some feedback. So I'm going to review a little bit of that really quick here. One, he made some suggestions about using our airborne unit, so I can actually fire off that airborne unit in the right weather, of course, and hit an HQ, like one of the Panzer HQs over here, and can knock them out. Now, the airborne unit goes away, but if it is valuable to have thrown out an HQ like that, to have removed an HQ like that for a turn, that means the HQ is not going to activate, and that HQ, the units around that HQ won't activate. So it can be used, if I can time it right, it might be very valuable, because then the units will have less organizational capability to fix the line or to move or retreat or do whatever, and I can maybe catch some of the Axis. So I'll have to think about how I'm going to do that. He did help point out a mistake that I think the rulebook could do a little bit better job of describing. So in his words, in his message to me, he noted that artillery that will only fire if they're actually activated as part of deep battle, a regular combat chit, or potentially combat Stavka Zhukov. And the reason why that matters is that I've been having this guy down here plinking away, taking guys out pretty regularly. I've rolled very well, but I actually shouldn't have been able to even fire that artillery, and it needed to have been in range of an HQ when it activates. It's not just every combat round, it's activated during a combat round, apparently, and I didn't quite appreciate that nuance, but Ted pointed it out. But he also, I guess it's sort of like evened out because I haven't been, moving my HQs around effectively, so I don't know, it's all a wash, but the reality really should be, I should have and would have put that artillery in another part of the line with my HQs, and using those artillery sort of in a concentrated fashion, maybe all within my HQ activation range, and putting the hurt on there. So I'll have to figure something out. I can technically, if I wanted to, rail that artillery out, I guess. I could do that. I think I can do that. I'm not... maybe I should look at that. I should make sure I know, can I rail artillery units? I would almost want to give myself a free movement with rail, or like have it be allowed in this case, because I really, had I been playing the rules right, I would have never put that artillery down there to begin with. So I'm like frantically looking at the rules here. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything saying I can't rail them. So I guess I'm maybe gonna try to do that. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah. So the artillery was a little goofed. We'll deal with that well enough, and then something else that he brought out. I'm just checking the notes that he left for me here. Something else that was brought up. So how I have my guard units organized. I mean, I have them. I've tried to put them sort of together in a couple of key places, but but I maybe haven't concentrated them as much as maybe I should be. And in fact, I can even spot a couple of places where it's like, well, yeah, it's there. I don't know that it's really worthwhile being there. Maybe I should have had these guys, placed elsewhere in in a more concentrated fashion, and then instead of like almost breaking the line in several places, I'm consistently breaking the line in one place, I've just, I don't know, I guess it's just a matter of I took one idea of concentrating that combat power, and maybe I should have done it differently. Um, but that's what I'm up to. So I have been trying to move units laterally across the front line to concentrate the best combat factors against the weakest defender hexes, but you're still up to trying to figure out the combat odds and rolling the dice, and the Germans using their assault gun, once a round in a critical battle, and it's just been tough. I will say that I think as a general observation of this game, now that I've been playing it for almost 27 turns now, I think being the attacker is very difficult. For the most part. I mean, Operation Barbarossa is actually difficult to execute, and as the Germans, you really, like, it sounds silly to have to say, you really have to plan, and what I mean by that is, like, you really have to think about, like, what hex are you going to attack, and how are you going to move your units afterwards. And I'm realizing now, as the game's sort of shifting to the Soviets being on the offensive, I have to do kind of the same thing. Like, I might not be thinking far ahead, like far enough ahead, to really be planning the operations that I'm doing. I'm sort of like, okay, let's try this, let's do this, and trying to make something happen, but I really need to be thinking more strategically and more, okay, well, how is this going to benefit me right now, and what can I do to turn this into something more valuable in the next turn. And maybe it's just the way that I'm playing this, which is one turn, a couple turns a week, that I'm like, my brain can't keep that going, because I have a million other things go through my brain from week to week, work and life and family and everything. So I don't know, maybe I'm just missing my own ability to process the right moves at the right time. One other closing thing to talk about from Ted's input is, now is about the time that the Axis is having to decide its defensive posture, to either put a lot of guys up on that front line to make high odds attacks very difficult, with the con to that being, if the line is broken, not really having any reserves to fill that hole, and an exploitation can become more catastrophic than it otherwise would be with reserves. The opposite of that is to pull more units off the front line, and allow them to be allow there to be some sort of reserve. So even, like, I'm increasing the chance of the first line to be destroyed or retreated or whatever, but then those reserves will keep it from being a major catastrophe. I've set up one way, right? I've kept mostly guys on the front line, maybe having one unit in the backfield ready to plug a hole, like a linebacker or something. And I don't think I'm going to change that. Like, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what's the point of the reserve? Well, if I keep there from bringing an exploit breakout anyway, then maybe I don't need to have reserves. Or maybe I just need to be more specialized and put reserves nearby these big collection of combat power that is coming together with these guard units. And maybe in some of these other places, well, maybe I don't need reserves down here or up here. I should have them more down here. I don't know. That's something I need to decide on and think about, but hey, I've been pursuing one strategy, and just sort of by default, because it was an attack posture strategy, have as much combat factors on that front line and figure out where to attack. Now it's put those combat factors where I can best defend, and that makes sense to me, I guess, so maybe that's the path I'm going to take. But ultimately, the Axis is buying time, right? That's the whole point. So as I look ahead at the turns, this is going to be our second to last winter coming up in the game. And the Soviets are probably going to have a really great advantage in these winters, and it's going to be pretty rough, but I'm pretty sure I'm ahead of where the Axis was at this point. Like, I think I'm a little in front of the historical lines where they were at, though, I'm getting pushed back anyhow. So I'm thinking maybe I'm doing okay on that time, but we'll have to see. Once we get past this next winter, we'll have the last full spring and summer to survive one more winter, and then the last couple of turns that are mud and then free terrain. So it's really like I got to make this winter. I got to do well here as the Axis, then survive as much as possible through the good weather turns, and then just make it through the home stretch. And we've still got, in terms of the space, like we still got a lot of space to work with. That will disappear probably pretty quickly, I suspect. And once the line starts falling apart, then I suspect there'll be a mad dash across the board to grab important cities and reinforcement cities. But like I said, we'll have to see what happens. So I'm going to put a cut here because this is quite a long intro and my recording might start to screw up. So I'm going to put a cut and then I'll show the reinforcements coming in this turn. Okay, here are the reinforcements for turn 27. So the Axis gets a little bit of a boost in terms of armor. So they're going to get a couple of those guys. I'm not sure exactly where I want to put them yet. I suspect I need to do some reinforcement around Smolensk, and I guess the corridor that we've been focusing on near Voronezh for a lot of the game. The Soviets are going to get a couple of tank corps upgrades. I have to actually go look through my stacks and figure out where the non-guards are. I can see one right now at Smolensk. I'm not sure where the other might be somewhere, but yeah, the reinforcements here, these conversions, they'll help a little bit, right? Because it's usually something like one extra combat factor that this unit will have being upgraded to this counter is how to look at it. Now the replacements are the same as last turn, so the Axis is going to get two Panzer Grenadier, two Panzer steps, and then 4 infantry/motorized steps to use. And I'll have to look around. There were some bloody battles there, and those replacements are going to be definitely needed. And the Soviets will get their usual, 25 to 30 something, depending on the die roll, which even the Soviets really need, honestly, because all those battles last turn, they were bloody for the Soviets as well. And again, replacing things like those infantry armies takes 7 replacement points, that's really like a quarter of the replacements that we get. So I will say, the Soviets have a lot of force, but even they have to be careful about where they're losing steps and where they're losing guys, because they don't have infinite resources to call upon. They got plenty of manpower, but they don't, they can't just replace everything all the time constantly yet. So that's where we're at. So what I'm going to do is take care of all of this with the reinforcements and the replacements, and when we come back, I will have also done, take a look at the, okay. So yeah, I will have done rail movement, and if I decide to do a Soviet airdrop where I can, we'll talk to it. I'm not sure that I will do that yet. I want to kind of get them in better position, because they're over here right now at the tip of the corner of the player aid chart. They're up here. I kind of want to get them a little closer. There's some weird constraints around where they can drop from. And just as a reminder, here is the terrain chart. So -2, or the weather chart, -2 to motorized mech units, -1 MP to all other units. German mechs have no ZOC. That might be very important here. No forced march. We haven't really used much of that in this game. Airborne corps may drop or transport, and then air bombardment is weakened with no mech, ZOC, and swamp. Which seems kind of redundant. Well, I guess, okay, so even Soviet mechs don't have ZOCs in swamps. Okay. Alright, well, yeah, we'll put a cut here, and when we come back, we will talk to any airborne things we do, and then look at the action chits. Okay, so forces are set up, reinforced, etc. And I'm going to do a custom fix for myself. So, knowing that I would have never put that artillery where I did, and the fact that I was plinging away at units I shouldn't have, I mean, I'll let the losses to the Axis take hold, maybe as a balancing factor, because they're ahead of history either way. I moved the artillery from near Rostov to here. I treated it like a rail move, but I didn't count it against the Soviet rail limit, with the restriction I'm putting on myself that I cannot use that artillery to fire this turn. So I'm treating it like a prolonged strategic move. I will not get to fire with that unit this turn. I can move it out of a rail where I railed it to, but I will not fire with it this turn. So that is my way of correcting a mistake, and if other folks don't like it, well, that's too bad, because I think it's fair enough. What I did do is I did use the rail capacity to take 2 of the Guard tank armies here, and I transfer them to Stavka Reserve. So we have a nice, strong 28 combat factor reserve that can, pop out of a place and cause some significant damage somewhere. It's kind of hard to get guys into the Stavka Reserve now because I have to take them off the line, and I have to use rail movement to do it, and I can only do that so much. So 4 steps was enough to get those guys in, and that'll just, hopefully 20 combat factors is enough to hit somewhere, somehow, right? If I hit a stack that has 8 defensive combat factors, that's still 3-to-1 odds, I guess. So it might be worth something. Might be able to do something with it. I did do some air transport with the airborne units to get them closer to the front line rather than back here. I had, unfortunately, left a few guys. I moved them out of the cities and had them walking to different cities. That was probably a mistake, but I'll let it stand. I'm not quite ready to launch the airborne corps yet, but I'm positioning them in such a way that I should be able to make better use of them next turn, and that should be sufficient. So I think we're ready to start looking at the initiative phase, the action shifts and then the initiative phase. So here's the setup for this turn. Again, it is very much like the previous couple of turns. Nothing too surprising there. We will see a change in December of 43, but for now we're keeping the same set. So we have logistics, Stavka, move, combat, Stavka Zhukov, and D. Okay, my camera screws up randomly for reasons I can't figure out, and it stops recording. So I'm not sure where I lost you, and when I do the stringing together of clips in my video editing software, I don't want to have to mess around with that, so I'm just going to go off and say, okay, yeah, logistics is what we've got for our initiative, or our chits for the turn. Logistics, Stavka, move, combat Zhukov, Stavka, Zhukov, deep battle, 2 of the move or combat chits, and the 2 Panzer activations. I've chosen this turn to go with the 2nd Panzer as usual, but also, instead of the 4th, to go with the 1st. That 1st Panzer is the one near Rostov, and I'm thinking I may need to use some extra movement to continue to pull those guys back in an orderly fashion, and that's what we're going to aim to do. It's going to get kind of to the point where, with the few Panzer HQs we actually have on the board, they're going to run out of good places to be useful after a while. I think we're going to have more area to cover than we can move with the HQ, so that may be our principal problem here. So there you go. Now the Soviets have initiative, as one would imagine, and we do have a chance to move and then combat. We could try to do something with our Stavka Reserve. Ted had suggested, well, you could do Stavka first and take some action and then leave everything else to chaos. But unfortunately, there's a lot of places because they're two Army units, stacking becomes a problem, and I don't really know where I can send them right now where they'll be super valuable and useful for combat right now. It'd be nice to knock out some units, so I don't know. I think I'm going to hold them back for now, and what I'd like to do is do movement, and I know I keep saying I always do movement first, but it's really important that I move some guys and I swap out injured units and put in fresh units. I need to be able to keep that going, and I want to do that now so that I have the right combat factors up front for combat. If that means the Axis can move, I guess I have to take that risk. So I'm going to do Soviet movement. We're going to put that first on the chip pull track, and then I'm going to take care of that movement. And we come back, we'll pull from the cup. Now, I did get some feedback and a comment about this cup is annoying because it's the plastic, solo cups that you see at frat parties, the sound of the chits clanking around in here is really annoying. I'm sorry for that. I don't really have another cup that I can use right this second. I could probably get some other cups in here, coffee mug or something. That'll have to wait, so you'll have to bear with me. What I'll try to do is draw off camera and away from the microphone so that you don't get that rattle in your ears. I apologize for that. If that's been bothering people for a while, someone finally spoke up to save your ears. But yeah, so there you go. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, movement is complete, and we got things situated in a better way. I've got to be a little careful. There's a couple of spots that aren't terribly thick of units for even the Soviets, but the funny thing is, as the Axis shortens their line, the Soviets are going to be able to shorten their line as well in some places. So it's going to be like, well, maybe they can get more combat factors concentrated. It's not like they have a lot of room to spare, honestly. But obviously the map's going to start getting much more constrained, and that probably benefits the defender just in terms of attack ratio. So anyway, we got things moved into position, and we'll be able to start acting. And again, one of my artillery, which is right over here, will not be firing this turn. It's merely getting in position. We'll say they railed the guns, but maybe they didn't rail the ammo. And okay, so yeah, we're down here. The Battle of Rostov and the Battle of Voronezh are going to be on, and I think even if I look here somewhere, somewhere I've got Bryansk also kind of caught up somewhere. I gotta look. It's like right somewhere over here. Covered by counters, so I'm gonna have to watch out for terrain. And that's really one thing. This game, the size of the counters, you gotta use forceps, tweezers, whatever. You gotta do it because the counters are little, and you can easily knock them around and stuff, and you will have to slide them around a bit if you want to make sure you're seeing the terrain where you're looking. And now terrain is going to start to matter a little bit because we're running into some of the rough terrain over here, and there's forests, and soon enough we'll have marsh to worry about once more, swamps to worry about. So we'll have to see how it goes. We're going to go to the cup, and I'm going to shake it over here so the microphone doesn't pick it up and hurt your ears. And we're going to pull from it, and what do we get? We get... Alright. Okay, now this is the decision time, right? Is there even combat the Axis wants to do? Probably not. I don't think so. Whatever they do on one part of the line, if they do cause any problems, will be part of the line that doesn't get moved back at all. We could move back from our current position, but that will cause some cities to be given up. Need to think on this. I think the Axis is going to do their move. It's just, here's the problem. It's mud, so everything is going to move a little bit slower. So I won't be able to move back a whole bunch. We'll move back as intelligently as we can, I guess. Um, but we're going to have to get... I was hoping to use Voronezh and Rostov as defensive points because the cities help a bit. But I might want to take this opportunity now to back out and cause the Soviets to miss some attack opportunities. Mostly because Zhukov's actually down here and can begin activating some of these strong units again. And I'm probably going to lose Rostov anyway. But maybe what I can do... Maybe I can leave some guys, like I can pull back and leave a little bit of a stretch here and just have Rostov be a problem, and maybe the same thing for Voronezh. Just leave a couple of steps in there with a line of supply and make the Soviets really try for it, maybe, is what I can do. I'm not sure what the best move is there, but yeah. So I'm going to have to take myself off camera and do the movement. It is going to be... it's probably going to take me a little while to just do that because I gotta count the terrain and the movement points because, like I said, with the mud, it's going to be a little hard to get some guys really far in terms of movement away from where they got to go. But we'll come back and we'll see what the world looks like. Again, we'll probably just have moved back one hex. That is probably the most economical thing to do here. And I'm going to have to continue to use Smolensk as my hinge because I do not want to give up. I really do not want to give up Smolensk yet. It's kind of important. And until we balance this out, it will remain important. So we'll take care of that. And when we come back, the line will look a little bit different, and the Soviets will be very frustrated as their attempts to engage the Axis are left with chasing the Germans back across the fields of Ukraine. At this point, is what it's going to be. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so there's the Axis move complete. Now you can see that we pulled back everywhere, but I left some guys in Rostov. You got to come and take it, Soviets. Same thing with Voronezh. It's just a couple of units, just some combat factors there. It's decent enough combat factors that with the shift that the city provides, the Soviets are going to have to take some losses attempting to take that city, and it's very well possible that they won't be able to take it at all. I mean, they're going to be able to get a lot of hex. They're going to have it pretty well surrounded, I guess, but if they cause a retreat, we can pull the units back. I don't know. It just, there is value in holding those cities a bit. It is getting tough to, pull down this way, because, again, I use that rubber band concept. We're pulling this way down, too, so we're pulling back, but we're also pulling down away from here, so it's hard to cover this line. It'll become easier once we pull back a little bit, and we'll be able to put some slack back into that part of the line, but things are awfully tight. And again, we just got to watch around here, because that's really where the most combat factors are. Same thing down here. What the Soviets need to decide right now is what they want to do. So what are the other chits right now? Well, the Panzer activations, which might be wasted right now. There's not much more that could be done. But if the combat Stavka and Zhukov come up, or Deep Battle for that matter, we're not really going to have much in the way of actual combat. So, knowing that, I think now is the time we play Stavka. And I spotted a place along the line as I was moving the Axis that it's like, oh yeah, we're going to hit there. Now, Bryansk is right here, and it is empty. I did pull back. I gave up that city. And maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. There was the minor river line, but that's not that big of a deal. Maybe it is a big deal. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because that's the weak part of the line, and even what we have, I had to make a choice, I guess. I don't know. This is probably a mistake as the Axis to pull back off that line in that city, but we have to do something, right? We have to do something. So I'm going to have Stavka be activated here, and what we're going to do with our Guard tank armies is They're going to pop into existence in Orel here, and then they're going to move 1 to, let's see, they're only going to have 7 movement factors, so let's see if I can get to where I actually want to go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So they're going to end up right there, and they're going to perform combat. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see that better. So there's a stack, and I couldn't really figure out any better way to do it, but the units just to the lower left of the guard tank armies there is 4 combat factors. So we're going to have 28 combat factors to 4. It's really going to be 7 with the assault markers, and then let's see, I guess we could use air power to bump it up to 30 to 7, and I guess we could fly air there, make it 11, so it would be 30 to 11, so that would make it, yeah, see, this is the way the game works, right? It's like if you're throwing in aid, right, support, you say, well, if this is the only round, or if this is a round, then the Axis, and there's only 1 attack in that round, the Axis will use their assault markers. So that's 3 combat factors in defense right now, so that becomes a 7. Then it's like, well, would anything, like if I'm the Axis, I would know also that the most that the Soviets could add is 2 combat factors with the plane support to make it go from 28 to 30, and then I could, if I were just making the decision to add my own air, during that time it would be 4 more for me, so it'd be 11. So 30 to 11, I know that's the maximum it would be. The Soviet player doesn't necessarily know that they're going to bother to take that action, but they've got to try, I guess, or else this action is wasted, right? So then they do that. I'm going to flip one of my air units because they're going to be done after this combat, and it's going to be 2 to 1 odds, which is not great, mind you. Not great at all, but that's what we've got. So we'll roll that. Ouch! I rolled a 2. That's an that's an AO1. All right. Well, so much for that idea, guys. That not great. Not great. Not great. But the nice thing is those units are next to that stack for future combat, and I guess now would be the time that the Axis player could say, well, I'm gonna use Manstein and pull back those units, and have just given the Soviets kind of a an FU kind of thing, and pull back out of there, and there's nothing much to stop them from doing that. But then we would lose Manstein until next year. So there's 2 turns after this one and this year before we would get them back. Is it worth doing now? No, I'm going to hold on to Manstein for now. So we'll let the cup be the determiner of the next action here. I'm going to pull the next cup, or the next chip from the cup, and it is, it's Deep Battle. I'm sorry, you can't see that. It's Deep Battle. So this might actually be an opportunity for the Soviets to make something happen, because even though I can try to make something happen over here. Probably not going to be super valuable. We will have infiltration movement, so we can mess around with that. We can attempt to get into Voronezh and Rostov, and then we've got some guys up here near Smolensk that could activate and take some activity here. So Yeah, we can do something, just not as much as we maybe would have hoped to have done. So I'm going to take myself off camera. I'm going to just take care of those deep battle things off camera, and we come back. We'll see what the map looks like at that point. Okay, well, I attacked Rostov and managed to get a BL1, so we didn't get across into the city. I was looking at Voronezh, and I can't quite make something happen there, and I chickened out on attacking in the same place I attacked with the Stavka because it's going to be a very expensive replacement. I did make some headway with my artillery that I allowed myself to use up near Smolensk, and I actually caused a retreat. And you can see now that there's a slight gap in the line, and we've got 2 Hexides against Smolensk. So the fact that we were pulling down on this part of the line and having to shuffle units has shown a weak point, and that hinge is starting to get hammered, and it's not taken that much to hammer it, honestly. We're pretty thinned out, and I'm actually thinking I'm going to have to start shuffling some of these units in the north down, because I do have some infantry corps up there doing a whole lot of nothing right now, but they need to pull down, basically. I need some guys to come down and help out, because it's too rough as is. But okay, so I don't think I'm going to use Manstein. I'm going to go to the cup, and we get, what do we get? Okay, so we get our 2nd Panzer activation. Now, we can't do a whole lot with it. Now, I did start to move the HQ west a little bit, but for the units that, well, let's see, we do this very fast, right? I could grab a unit here and get him. Oof, he's probably not going to have the distance to get to where I would want to take him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he won't be able to get all the way up there, but maybe what I can do is I can do a little bit of yeah, I can't do that either. Yeah, we've got problems. We're not going to be able to do what I was hoping to do. I forget how I think I just screwed that up, how I had those set up, but I think I fixed it. Okay, well, that's a wasted shit. There's not much more we can do right now with that HQ activation. We'll go to the cup and pull the next one. And we got logistics. I think everybody's fine, so nothing to worry about there for logistics. And then, what do we get next? Okay, so we get Axis combat. Now, I very much doubt that there's anything I want to do with Axis combat right now. If I look along the line, I don't think there's a dang thing I want to do. No, definitely not. No, I'm not going to do any combats with the Axis. There is nothing I want to do right now that would help the situation. I'd likely just take more losses that I can't replace properly. So I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next pool, which is 1st Panzer. Now, I don't think I really have much to do with the 1st Panzer now either. Now, I selected him thinking they'd be in danger, but I'm kind of happy with the present situation. The only thing else I would maybe consider doing here, since we have the activation, is are there any combat factors I want to move around? Yeah, things are kind of as good as I can really get them. Maybe if I did that, that's a little bit better. Maybe get this guy up here, and then that way we're in better shape. I think that's all I really want to do. Oh, I guess technically I couldn't have done that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. He was here, so he would not have been able to do that. Neither would that guy. Screwed that up. My bad. We'll fix that. Okay. So much for that. 1st Panzer activation's over. Very swift and easy. And now the final chit, and again, I don't think Manshin's going to go. I want to save him for next turn probably, is the combat Stavka Zhukov. And Zhukov is right out. He can't activate anything, and we may be able to do something with Stavka up here in the north, because we could try that. I don't think it's worthwhile. But up here, I think there's still, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we could even try to attack Smolensk. Now, I don't think we'd get very far, but we could try. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to figure out if there's anything that can be done up here that's worthwhile. And then when we come back, I think that's the end of the video, honestly. That's the end of the turn, because we've gotten through all of our activations. So we'll do some review once we get to that point. So we'll be right back. Okay, so I managed to do one combat right here that was a BL1. I was debating on doing some attacks over here, but the -2 just, it's not worthwhile for what I'd have to replace, and knowing that my Soviet replacements are being used quite a bit, just trying to keep the offensives going. So I think that's all I really wanted to try to do. So I think that brings us to the end of the turn, guys. I'm sorry, this one's a little anticlimactic. You know, we didn't. When it's move counter move, you know, that's when things start to get, you know, thrown awry for the Soviets. They can't quite do the damage they would have really liked to have done, but still, we were putting pressure on. We're taking out some Axis positions a little bit, and we're pushing them back, which is still good. We just need to be able to create breakthroughs. And again, our operational doctrine hasn't caught up to our manpower, as I think historically was the case. Now, the only thing I will say is Kursk is right here, so at the edge of the tips there. And so the Soviets are going to get Kursk back very shortly, but it will be under very different conditions than was at the historical time, and you know, we're past the offensive by the Axis to try to take Kursk again at that point. So yeah, way after that point. We still technically have 2 turns left before the Operation Citadel scenario would end if we were playing that, but again, our game situation is very different from that scenario, and we're going to keep it going. So we're still at the 34 victory points after the switch of what was that? Orel, and Smolensk is probably going to be lost soon. I don't think there's much more I can do to salvage that situation, though I'll certainly be trying to. I just have to be careful. Every time I pull back, that might be putting pressure somewhere along the line and stretching that line out far enough that an attack is useful somewhere. So I've got to be careful. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate the views and the comments, and I still want to get to the follow-up video to my questions. Several of you have asked some great questions, and I'm working on those answers, and we'll want to present that in a video here soon. I just got to get the time and be camera ready, because I like to do that in front of the camera here soon. So watch out for that video, and we'll catch you in the next one when we cover turn 28 as we get back to a mixed weather turn for the game. So until next time, guys, take care and keep on gaming.